In the name of the Creator, Redeemer, and Sustainer. Please be seated. While in their joy, they were disbelieving and still wondering. I love that little phrase, because every single one of us here today may be here because of wonder, disbelief, or joy, or maybe a combination of all, or maybe a bit of one of the other, right? That it brings us together, the sense of wonder, disbelief, and joy. Maybe you come in wonder, seeking awe, that inspiration, or maybe you're just curious, like, what do these people at church do? Or maybe you come in disbelief. You come with your doubts. You come to see what happens here. Maybe you came because you have a partner or a spouse or a friend who you just want to support, and that's why you're here. Or maybe you have doubt with God because in the form of disappointment or anger or frustration, a part of your life where it feels like God is not tending. Or maybe you come because of joy, that you have had your hopes realized. You are full in that delight, that wholehearted sense of joy and love, and you've come to share it with God. Well, no matter where you are, that's everywhere those disciples were too. And Jesus came to them. No matter where they were, Jesus met them. No matter where we are, Jesus meets us. He accommodates them. He doesn't chastise them. He doesn't shame them. And this may sound a little familiar because it's the same setup as last week's story. But it was from the Gospel of John. This is the Gospel of Luke. Here, in this case, these disciples have had 3 occurrences of the risen Jesus, and they still have doubt and disbelief and fear and joy and wonder all in that room. Jesus doesn't chastise them. He doesn't shame them. He just says, "You have something to eat?" And he shares that meal with them. And again, they recognize Jesus. Something wholeheartedly different than what they knew before, something even more wonderful. These resurrection stories we have in the season of Easter have all the same similar feelings: wonder, disbelief, and joy, all in tension. Last week I talked about Karl Barth and his understanding of astonish, that these resurrection stories are called to astonish us. And that means, and I think it's so important, I'm going to revisit just real quickly. Astonish means that if you fully believe, you're not astonished. If you fully doubt these stories, you're not astonished. To astonish means you hold that belief and that doubt in tension with one another. That's how it is. And when we hold that faith and that doubt in tension one another, it's letting our whole selves be open to God. It opens our hearts and our minds to the possibilities that God gives us. So, God is asking us to bring our whole selves, joy, disbelief, wonder, anger, expectations, disappointment, and to hold it all in tension. And that will help us have a more open heart and an open mind. As it says in the Gospels, Jesus has opened their mind to scriptures. Resurrection story should make us more open as a people, not closed. I don't know what it is about sometimes we as Christians, we get a little closed off in our beliefs and think that this is it, this is the way it should be. That's not what Jesus is saying here. Jesus is saying, open your hearts and your minds. That open stance is so life-giving. And we know this to be true because we've been in a very closed space before. We have all survived the pandemic, right? And when we were in the worst of the lockdown, it was like being trapped in that tomb, in that cave of our homes. And our lives started to shut down. And some parts of my heart, it felt like it was shutting down as well. And how hard it was to reopen again. It took many, many seasons of resurrection to open ourselves, and we are still trying to figure that out, right? We're still trying to figure that out. I was walking, my mom's in town, and we went to San Francisco, and we were walking on Union Street. My poor mother, she comes at these times. I had a dentist appointment on Union Street. Long story on why it's in San Francisco, but that doesn't matter. But we were walking through all the shops on Union Street. There's a whole bunch of them. And she was remarking, she's like, oh my gosh, there's like so many closed stores. And my perspective was, man, you didn't see it a year and a half ago. There's so many new places. There's so many open stores. It feels like the community is coming back slowly and surely. Openness is a good thing. So Jesus comes to us to open our hearts and our minds. And this is what Diana Butler Bass, there's a quote from Diana Butler Bass. The tomb is empty. Jesus lives. Open hearts, open minds. Veil is rent. Every wall torn down. Every boundary dissolved. Every lock broken. Every door thrown off its hinges. No longer Jew or Greek, slave or free, male or female. We long for such openness. May we, as a community of faith, embody that openness that God calls us and hold all of those feelings in front of God as a core part of our faith so that we may be how God is calling us to be. Amen.